from the footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Memory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our 2014 preseason Division III All-American team. Now, there's many great players across the country that are worthy of being on this list, but let's start this video off by taking a look at our first team All-Americans, starting with the quarterback position.
Kevin Burke from Mount Union is one of the best players in college football regardless of division. Burke was a dual-threat dynamo last year for the Purple Raiders, throwing for over 3,800 yards and 44 touchdowns to only 9 interceptions, while also rushing for over 1,000 yards and 14 touchdowns. Cartel Brooks was a football game plan preseason All-American last year and exceeded expectations as a junior, going over 1,700 yards rushing at 8.2 yards a carry, including an NCAA record 465-yard effort versus Baldwin Wallace, where he averaged 12.2 yards a carry. Thomas Moore's tailback Dominic Hayden is on the radar of NFL teams this year after averaging 200 yards a game en route to a 2,000-yard season, scoring 25 touchdowns. Houghton Walker out of Hampton, Sydney is a big play waiting to happen. Last year, he caught 111 passes for over 1,700 yards, averaging 143 yards a game. In his career, he has already caught 28 touchdown receptions. Tyler Rutenbeck out of Dubuque is a game breaker who averaged 18.7 yards a catch and set a school record last year, posting 11 consecutive games with a touchdown reception. Worcester State's tight end Casey Hippert is a big-time target at 6'5", 235 pounds, and the Lancers moved him all around the formation. Hippert was the top tight end in the country last year, going over 1,000 yards and averaging 16.9 yards a catch. Hobart's Ali Marpet is an excellent offensive tackle that's the leader on a very solid offensive line for the Statesmen that allowed the fewest sacks in the Liberty League last year with 8. Lucas Skibba got his shot to start in 2012 and hasn't looked back. The 6'3", 280-pound senior from Wisconsin-Whitewater excels in the running game and was an all-WIAC performer last season. A two-time All-American, Spencer Clark out of Wheaton is exactly what you want in the center. He has the football IQ, the agility, and the ability to assist guards, keeping interior pressure at a minimum. Rance Hightower out of Maryville College is a two-time all-conference performer who is a tremendous athlete with great movement skills who helped pave the way for one of the top rushing attacks in all of Division III. Another two-time All-American, Linfield's offensive tackle Steven Schultz was also a football game plan 2013 preseason All-American because of how he dominates opponents and is also an anchor on the offensive line for the Wildcats. Schultz definitely has NFL potential. Sean Hackle out of Worcester has played wide receiver and cornerback in his career, and last year he settled in at running back and led the Scots in rushing, going over 1,000 yards, and was 4th on the team in receiving yards, as well as being a team leader in kickoff return yardage. Definitely worthy of being our first team all-purpose player. Now let's take a look at our second team preseason All-Americans, and you look at quarterback Matt Brent from Wisconsin-Whitewater, a guy that led the Warhawks to the national title last year in a blowout victory over Mount Union. He threw 40 touchdown passes to only 1 interception last year, and on the receiving end of 19 of those touchdown passes was Jake Cumro, a 6'5", 185 big-time playmaker who also averaged 17 yards a catch, and Sean Dunning, the outstanding tailback from Milliken. Keep an eye on him moving forward at 6 feet, 215 pounds, very tough to bring down. Now let's move over to the defensive side of the football, and defensive end John Worley out of Illinois Wesleyan has gotten better each and every year. At 6'4", 245, Worley posted 12 sacks and 19.5 TFLs en route to being named All-American as well as All-Region. A two-time All-Conference performer, defensive lineman Ben Poirier out of Heidelberg filled up the stat sheet every week. Poirier was a constant nuisance last year with 18 TFLs, 1 forced fumble, and 3 pass breakups. Preston Tebow put together an impressive junior season at Louisiana College. Preston, a two-time all-conference performer, posted 60 tackles, 14.5 TFLs, and tied for the lead in sacks with 6.5. Tyree Coleman is a two-time All-American who last year was 4th in the nation in sacks with 17.5 and 3rd in the nation in TFLs with 30. Both were school records. Cody Baresh was a consensus All-American last year for Wabash. Baresh plays with tremendous speed and acceleration, and that led him to have 20 TFLs and 11 sacks for the Little Giants. Linebacker Ethan Kennan was the nation's top tackler last year with 158. He averaged 15 tackles a game for the Crusaders and became the first player in school history to finish top in any national statistical category. Frank Gaffney out of Lebanon Valley was the Middle Atlantic Conference Defensive Player of the Year after leading the country in sacks with 13 and also leading the team in tackles with 19.5 TFLs, which helped him land numerous postseason All-American honors. Wisconsin-Whitewater cornerback Brady Grable has great size and very good instincts, and he consistently drew the opponent's top wide receiver last year, intercepting 5 passes. Vincent Beltrano out of the University of Chicago is an excellent open field tackler and also very good in coverage. Beltrano is a technician who led the University of Chicago last year in interceptions with 5. Tanner Troutman is a 2-time all-region performer, and last year for Lycoming was his best year yet. Troutman led the nation in interceptions with 8, bringing his total to 14 in his career and becoming the first Lycoming player to be named first-team All-American last season. As a safety with great range, Norwich's safety Dane Pilato found himself making a lot of plays last year to the tune of 18 pass breakups and 7 interceptions. Pilato was also in on 31 solo stops. Now let's take a look at our second team defensive All-Americans. You look at Sosteen Kapula out of Wesley, 6'3", 221 pounds, made our list last season and was a big-time playmaker for the Wesley Wolverines. And also Andrew Tolosi out of Portland State, a tremendous leader that should put together another fine season as a senior. Now let's move over to our special team All-Americans, starting with kicker Kresimir Avkovic, a first-team All-Ohio Athletic Conference performer, going 20 out of 24 on his field goal attempts, and nearly 50% of his kickoffs went for touchbacks. Punter Taylor Morton has a booming leg, averaging 42.9 yards a punt, and also gets great accuracy with 17 of his 50 punts landing inside the 20, a 2-time All-Conference performer. Kickoff returner Curran Fudge out of the Redlands did a fantastic job last year, giving his offense less field to work with by averaging 33.7 yards per return, 41 yards a return in conference play. Muhlenberg's Cody Geyer is dangerous with the ball in his hands. The 5'8", 180-pound senior averaged 20 yards per kickoff return and 17.1 yards a punt return, bringing one back to the house, 75 yards versus Gettysburg's last season. Now let's take a look at our second team All-Americans for the special teams unit. And Jesse Ramos was a football game plan preseason All-American last year, one of the fastest players in the country, and finds himself back on this list as a junior. Let's move over to the coaching staff for this All-American team. And Lance Leipold out of Wisconsin-Whitewater is a 5-time national champion and has gone 94-6 during his tenure at Wisconsin-Whitewater. He's also a 4-time American Football Coaches Association Coach of the Year. Jeff Thorne out of North Central gets the nod as the offensive coordinator on this team. His Cardinals squad averaged 46 points a game last year, and during his 5 seasons as the OC, the Cardinals have finished in the top 25 nationally each and every year. BJ Hammer's defense live up to his last name, as his defensive units for Wabash have ranked in the top 10 during his 3 years as a defensive coordinator, and he's fully responsible for former linebacker C.J. Gum winning back-to-back conference Defensive Player of the Year honors. Brandon Hasenberg out of Linfield is the recruiting coordinator on our list. Hasenberg played at Linfield, and now as the coach there for 8 years, he exudes what the program is all about and is able to sell that to recruits, keeping the Wildcats both well stocked with talent and also one of the top teams in Division III.